And the thing is, I'm on the committee. It's not a committee of one. I know this. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that I'm not the sergeant at arms. And there will be a list going out to all of those who've been on the committee. And so you won't have to see my face every week on Zoom trying to take money from you. Once again, since we are meeting virtually, we will keep track. I have a pen and paper here. I'll keep track of the fines that are levied, and maybe you'll get an assessment at some point when we can all get together. I've also decided, since I'm sergeant all the time, that there's no need to be present on the Zoom call to actually be fined. So I think that's fair. It was, as Tim Joy mentioned, I have a lot going on, so I have to plan and not even golf next week. So it's always difficult to put these things together when you've got so much to do, but I know everyone here has a lot to do. First of all, I think we missed out on one of the guests. Chuck Lang, can you pay $1 for your guest back there, Mr. Rogers? I see him back there. He didn't sing. He didn't do the Pledge of Allegiance.
He stood.
Well, all right. So you get to take that $1 off for standing. Thank you very much, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you.
In prepping for this in the last 15 minutes, I decided to look on Facebook to see who'd be the first person to pop up, first Rotarian to pop up on my feed. And it turned out to be Mike Muma. So I'm going to fine Mike Muma $1 for being the first to pop up on my feed. And I'm going to fine Paul Sincock for slipping because he's usually the first one on my feed. I also want to put down $1 for Cam Miller for having the most comments, which is surprising that Cam's commenting a lot. Just leave that there. As you all know, I say it every time, I'm a history guy. I love talking about history. And so today, July 10th, we're going to talk about this day in history. July 10th, 1776, a statue of King George III was pulled down in New York City. I'm not making any statements, no political statements here, but as you see, times they change, but they kind of stay the same. So with that, King George III, I did happen to watch Hamilton while it was streaming. So if anyone else enjoyed Hamilton on Disney Plus, please pay $1. I would even ask you to pay another $1 if you were fortunate enough to see it live on stage. Also, July 10th, 1925 was the beginning of the Scopes monkey trial. Now, it's a weird name, but we all know it's about evolution and whether or not you can teach that in schools. So I want to find any of the lawyers who are on the call. And, just to be fair, I'm going to find the educators too, because they kind of got that whole thing started. So there's that. For me, television is very important. I know a lot of educators are on here and a lot of people that enjoy reading say, James, you're crazy, but hey, they've got the History Channel. I can watch that all day and satisfy a lot of needs. But in 1962 on this date, the Telestar satellite was launched, which allowed European television to come to the United States, which really what it led to was James Van Horn being introduced to the Benny Hill Show. And I'm telling you, it just made my life. So anyone else who enjoyed Benny Hill, please pay $1. Birthdays, July 10th, 1839. I know Bill Ventola was there to welcome Adolphus Bush, Anheuser-Busch, and Bill Ventola. I think it's done well for you, the whole little beer industry. So that'd be $1. Also, we had Jake LaMotta born on this day. If anyone's seen Raging Bull, that's a good one. If you've seen Raging Bull, that's $1. And then anyone who can tell me who Houston Harris is. No one? Now, he already sounds like a good wrestling name, but it wasn't good enough, and he changed it to Bobo Brazil. So good old Bobo Brazil was born on this date in 1924. Now, he actually lived for a while in Benton Harbor, and well, I did find out. You find all kinds of things out when you're doing your history lessons. But he also passed away in St. Joseph. So he lived his time and spent it here in Michigan, and that's great. I'm going to end up here with mentioning two people that I truly enjoy, who happen to be one is observing a birthday today, and one who's no longer with us. But in 1972, Sofia Vergara was born. Oh, no, I'm telling you. Can you imagine Sofia Vergara on the Benny Hill show? Oh, and something else. I'm thinking about it now, and maybe I should stop. And also born on this date in 1943 was Arthur Ashe, who was a wonderful tennis player, but I think even a greater human being. And it's one of the people that I try to model my life after. And I know that I see a lot of people here that exhibit the class that he did. So with that, I'm going to yield the rest of my time. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, James. Very, very entertaining as always. Now I got Benny Hill and Sofia Vergara in my head. I don't know. That's a strange combination.
Well, it works.
Huh. All right. Well, we will move on. And so the email that went out earlier this week, due to scheduling changes, last minute changes, we have adapted, and the Joy Brothers have volunteered. We had to reschedule the program that was originally scheduled for today, which was Frank Agostini and Tony Belli from E.G. Nix, and how they outsmarted COVID-19. And so we have switched and put in the Joy Brothers to give us an informative and entertaining program about how they outsmarted COVID-19. And we will let them take it away.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. I started out the COVID issue very easily. I was in Florida. And so Eric and my general manager, Todd Haynes, put together a program of keeping us and our staff safe. And it's worked out very well. We are still wearing masks and have been. Some of our contractors seem to not enjoy that, or they're making a statement, God knows what. So, but if they enter our buildings, they have to be masked. That's just simple. I've got to keep my people safe. So this COVID thing has actually been sort of a blessing in disguise. It's had some very positive effects on garden centers and my entire green industry. When the state shut down businesses, it was not done very equitably. The big box retailers got to continue to sell their plant materials, paints, that sort of thing, and they virtually had a captive audience until our governor bought a clue and even realized that that had to be amended. So the essential and non-essential businesses, that was the issue. And, you know, the big box retailers were declared to be essential. And I sort of get that. Unfortunately, there's so many small businesses that were really at a disadvantage because they were declared non-essential. And so that sort of caused some issues in the industry. The industry, however, did get to open up about the 1st of May. And the independent garden centers have been absolutely inundated with customers. It has been absolutely a blessing for them. They have had probably the best year financially that they've ever had. Now, there's some underlying reasons for that. If you're unemployed, you get to draw the state unemployment plus the $600 that you get from the Fed, and the blessings of our government. You also received a $1,200 stimulus check, and you're basically locked down at home. And so what do? Well, you paint the walls, you go out and clean up in the yard. It's all stuff that you can do safely, socially distant, and you have the monies to do it. The unemployment benefits, they actually became a competitor to us. It's difficult to hire people when by staying home, they're making $1,000 a week. And so we have struggled to try to replace people and add staff. I presently have 9 positions open and can't find anybody. I had 10, but I did find 1 person. And it's a key person. It's a mechanic. You ought to try to find a mechanic that can work on everything from lawnmowers to diesel engines. The other thing that my industry struggled with, and it's turned out to be sort of a blessing, is legal immigration. H-2A and H-2B are 2 programs that my industry utilizes. H-2A relates to agricultural workers. That's the people that pick your apples, harvest your asparagus, and do other agricultural things. H-2B are employees in our industry, landscape contractors, as well as like roofing guys, asphalt guys, that sort of thing. And they come into our country legally. They can only work a certain period of time, and then they have to return home. Well, the Trump administration closed the borders. And so many of our contractors rely on this H-2B program for people. And so I know of one of our contractors that 50% of his staff is still in Mexico and cannot come here. Now, so that you understand, these are people that return year after year after year. So it's like a distant relative coming back every year to visit you and to work with you and to be productive because they don't have to be retrained. So that's really caused some issues. Interestingly, the nurseries that produce plants have had an absolutely fabulous year. The retail garden centers have been consuming plant materials at an enormous rate. And so they're now to the point where they're running out of plants that are ready for sale, and they're starting to steal into their next crops. And you do have to think of my product as a crop. To give you a time frame, Christensen's planted our 2025-2026 shade tree crop this year. So there's a huge lead time in the industry. So here's my summary. COVID's been a blessing for our industry. The people, you, me, everyone else, were forced to stay home. So people at home are bored and they need something to do, and you can only watch so much Netflix. Money issues were mitigated by the payroll protection program, the unemployment, the stimulus, and lots of us budget for vacation time. We set monies aside, and there are no vacations. And so that has actually translated into improving your home and landscapes. For the first time this year, many people planted a vegetable garden or haven't planted a vegetable garden in a long time and have this year. Landscape and gardening are not impacted by crowds or social distancing, so that was a blessing. The contractors we deal with are very busy. They are crazy busy. And that really relates to they don't have enough people to do what they had promised customers they could do. So one other thing that I'm looking forward to is the end of the supplemental unemployment from the federal government, because I hope that will allow us to hire additional staff because people won't have the money to stay home. So, anybody have any questions? Hi, June.
Hi. The H2, H3.
H2A.
Yeah,
H2A.
the part-time seasonal employees.
Yes.
Are their payroll checks subject to payroll taxes like full-time
Yes.
employees?
They pay all the payroll taxes that everyone else does. Interestingly, though, the money's paid into Social Security, they never get to collect them. So that's a bonus to our country. The taxes that are collected, also, they don't get to file income tax because they're not a resident. And so that's a bonus to our country. So from that perspective.
Don't forget unemployment, all the unemployment tax that is collected on those people. They're never allowed to file for unemployment, so they'll never collect unemployment either.
Right.
So they are net contributors to both tax and unemployment.
In other words, it's like owning their own business.
Yeah, welcome to the club, right? Exactly. Yep. Eric, what do you have to say?
I don't know. Just trying to watch the world go round, not watch the world go round outside my window.
Right. Exactly.
Danny, did
any
you
other
have a question?
questions?
Danny, did you have a question? No? How many employees do you have when you're fully staffed, Tim? Tim and
We
Eric?
have 56 here at Plant Center and another 25 out at Rushton Farms.
Okay.
So Rushton Farms is our growing operation, and we have 200 acres out in South Lyon that we grow containered plants and shade and ornamental trees.
Oh, all right.
Jim?
Yeah.
Bill's got a question.
Yeah, is any of your, do you any wholesale to the large box stores? Or you just,
No,
pardon me?
primarily our customer base is landscape contractors. Now this year, because plant material was so hard to get, we were also supplying some small garden centers with plants. The box stores contract directly with growers, and generally they grow a sub-quality plant materials that they sell to the box stores.
So how long does your season last? When does your season roughly typically wrap up for the year?
Deer season, November 15th. Well, a lot of contractors go hunting. That's one of the issues. But by then, the weather is such that, you're putting plant materials in and hoping that we have a decent enough winter that it doesn't hurt them. So from an economic point of view, the contractors really start to get very fussy about what they do, particularly in November, and how they do it.
Let's see. Is there anybody else who has a question or a comment? So what's happening, Eric, with the world outside of your window? What's going on?
Well, let's see. It rained
Yes.
for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I was watching, I don't know, 3 or 4 of our contractors' trucks come in and go out.
Oh.
So it was nice to see.
Yeah.
A normal day for us, we'll see between 110 and 140 contractors on a day.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of guys in and out of here. And our typical sale is like $600 to $700.
$629.56.
Not that we're exact on that.
Not that I track it or anything.
Is
Right.
that 6 days a week?
5 days a week. We only are operating a half a day on Saturday, and we operate with a minimal staff.
Well, Eric, what's your turnaround time on when a contractor makes an order, and is it possible for you to get the stuff if they have if they run into a large order?
A large order, we can typically turn it in 10 days. And the slowdown there is more of, all right, I'll pick on boxwood, the hedge you put in front of everybody's house. If somebody orders several hundred boxwoods, the slowdown is literally, okay, now you got to send a crew out and dig every one of those individually. And quite honestly, to dig an entire semi-load is about 3/4 of a day of a crew to just go out and dig that truckload. So it's fitted into the dig schedule, physically get it dug, and then put it on the truck, and then it's 2 days shipping just to get it to us.
Uh-huh.
So the physical dig, load, and actual shipping is 4 out of those 10 days.
Where are most of your growers? Are they in the state of Michigan, or are they outstate?
38 states and 3 provinces of Canada. So
What do they grow? What do they grow in Canada? Icicles?
no, surprisingly, they grow a lot of the arborvitae that you see around Michigan. They grow them there because out near Vancouver and in British Columbia, their growing season is 10 months out of the year versus Michigan's, which struggles to be 7. So they get an extra 3 months of growth out of them.
Thanks.
Anything else? We got them here.
Captive audience, come on, guys.
Yeah.
You got
Well, I'll
knockout
probably send
roses behind me. Okay.
Oh, goody.
Here, I'll give you the tour if I can.
Mary Lou, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to thank Tim for clearing up the fact the big box stores are selling inferior plants.
Yes.
I thought that a long, long time, but it's not widely known. Thank you, Tim.
Mary Lou, what
Yeah.
happens is, it's like tomatoes. You always have the really nice tomatoes, and then you have the ones with the blemishes on them, and they buy the blemishes.
I understand. And
Okay.
I felt this for a long, long time, but it's just not information that is out there available to everyone.
Correct.
It should be.
All right. Captain John, I think that's it for me.
All righty. Well, thank you to the Joy Brothers for great presentation and information and how you adapted and made some lemonade out of some lemons. So.
All right. And then I think you better talk to Eric. He has another topic.
Oh,
If you want it. It's
sure.
up to you, John.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the fall festival or not?
Well,
Oh.
inquiring minds
I'm
want to
watching
know.
everybody wince.
Uh-oh.
Inquiring minds want to know. So if since you're the El Presidente of the Fall Fest, you can give us the inside scoop here.
Well, I'm sure this will shock no one in the fact that a traditional fall festival will not take place in 2020. There's just no way to social distance 30,000 people over a 3-day weekend. So the fall festival is trying to put together a one-day event, sort of like the farmers market that happens every week in Plymouth, where the groups can come and sort of do almost a drive-through to sell what they can and take donations over a much shorter period of time. We're trying to also couple it with the groups where they can basically partner with other groups. So the Salvation Army and the United Way and Toys for Tots and things like that. And so they could do both a collection for those charitable organizations and their own group at the same time. We're also trying to work out a 5K run that would take place in the morning and end at the beginning of the Farmers Market Festival, so that there's almost a captive audience that shows up right at the start of it. And then we're throwing around a couple other ideas, like a photo scavenger hunt through Plymouth, trying to draw people to downtown to the businesses.
That's cool. Does anybody have any questions?
I saw James Garrelly stick his hand up.
Yeah, I just wondered, can you have carry-out only chicken dinners at that off-site where you guys have it off of some street? I forgot where it is.
Yes, but no. We could have the carry-out. The problem is, how do you socially distance and make the chicken?
Oh, they just get it in their car. They stay in their car. I don't know how to cook it, but you just have
Right.
it.
That's the problem, is the cooking of it. There's no way to socially distant and cook that many chickens. So I think the barbecue committee has already kind of shot that one down, but that's in their hands, not mine.
Yeah, the barbecue committee met yesterday, and they're meeting again this coming week. They met this past Wednesday, and they're meeting again this coming Wednesday. And Brandon Bunt, who's the barbecue chair, will be giving the board an update kind of on the status on Tuesday. I know Danny is on that committee. I know they've talked about all sorts of different options and how do you make it work just from a municipal standpoint. When you get a 26-page pre-decisional guidance document from the state government, but everything is changing on a dime, it makes it extremely difficult logistically to plan anything with that many steps, pieces, parts, people, pre-sale. I don't know if Danny, if you want to comment or not.
Yeah, as you said, we had a barbecue committee meeting earlier this week and basically reconfirmed what we have been talking about / decided for a few weeks now, that we will not host a traditional barbecue. We will not host a barbecue this year for all the known reasons. We've moved on from that now, and we're now looking at other options to support fundraising for Rotary, and those are in the early stages, but everything from having our own raffle to throwing our weight behind the golf outing and trying to find ways to support the golf outing to make it even more successful with perhaps additional fundraising events there. But those are all in the early stages, but I can confirm what you said. There will not be a chicken barbecue.
Yeah, and so we're thanks, Danny and Eric. Obviously, just in municipal world where Paul and Chris and I, Chris Portman and I, work, and in everybody's world, really, it's things are changing daily, and so many events and as they were originally contemplated, are changing. And there's a message from Andy, who's not on my front screen, so that says, So the leadership, the barbecue committee will remain the same in their current positions. So Brandon Bunt will be the chair, and I don't honestly know, maybe Danny can help me, who the purchasing agent is for next year's barbecue. So that is
I don't remember, to tell you the truth. Andy, is that you? I don't remember who's
the purchasing chair, Andy? Well, there is a purchasing chair, and they will be the purchasing chair again next year. So
I think it's Gary, but basically, yeah, all of the roles we took on for this year, we will continue next year, including Brandon coming back as chair of the barbecue committee.
Okay. Well, thank you for filling everybody in. I know everybody's kind of been asking, and if there's nothing else for the good of the order, I'll turn everybody loose to do a rain dance. I would really like some rain, particularly.
Was June holding her hand up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, June.
Thanks, Tim. This is in regards to the barbecue, and I'm sure you guys are considering all different options, but one that you may or may not have. Little Caesars makes the frozen pizzas that are super popular at Costco. And my neighbor is one of the people behind the development of that product, so she sends those pizzas to me all the time. They're actually quite good, considering that they're Little Caesars. So they're not branded that way or anything, but they do a lot of partnerships with nonprofits and charitable organizations. So that might be worth a question to see. People show up, they drop their clothes off for Salvation Army, and they roll away with a frozen pizza that's decent. I don't know.
Thanks, June. Yeah, Chuck.
Just two things. If you're planning on golfing in the Golf Classic, get your team in as soon as you can, because it's filling up fast. And second, I am looking for volunteers to work in the morning of August 10th to help with registration and the different things that we need to do. So if there's anyone out there interested in volunteering, please let me know. Thank you.
Chuck, do you know when the registration cutoff is?
Well, let's see, it's August 10th. So probably, I don't actually know, but a couple of days before. We'll take, I don't think we're gonna have a problem because we're filling up. So the fact of the matter is, once we're full, if you don't register now, you may not get in. So
how many foursomes are available? How many foursomes are there total?
72.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's always a good time. So thank you, everybody, for coming, and the Joy Brothers for the program and the dovetail on the program, and the Danny for and Andy for the barbecue info, and Chuck for the golf info. And I hope everybody has a safe and healthy, happy weekend. And we will see everybody back here next Friday at noon.
Yeah. Thanks, Penny.
Thanks, everybody.
Well done, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir.